Hi. What's going on, man? What's going on, people? Hi, how y'all doing? You see the bottom? If I can line it up, where is it? There it is. Line it up at the bottom. Welcome back to the Lazy Cast. I'm your Grizzlies host, Jalen, episode 29 of what is going on in the land of the sports, in particular basketball. And we're talking about today the off season. And yes, some people are gonna be like, why didn't you talk about the draft? Why didn't you talk about the finals? Um, for one, with the draft, I'm just be honest, I didn't watch college ball that much. I'm not really a college ball advocate. I haven't been since like 2015-ish, 16. And I haven't watched college basketball in a very long time. And probably don't really plan on doing it anytime soon. That's just me personally. So going into this year's draft, I really only knew a handful of names. So I really didn't pay attention to that much. So I don't want to give out false narratives and false anything to anybody. And more of a just let's sit back and wait and see what happens. And with the finals, I kind of predicted the finals. So it was really no point of talking that much about the finals anymore. While yes, I was rooting for the Mavs, which I think a lot of people were. I said in that video, please don't be shocked if Boston wins in five. And what happened? Boston beat them niggas in five. So with that out the way, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn the post notices on, all that great stuff. And yeah, man, hope you guys enjoy this video. See my face again, enjoy seeing my face again. And we're gonna just simply talk about the winners and the losers of this year's off season. Yes, the off season isn't over with; it's far from over. And same thing that I did with the NFL off season. I kind of didn't want to say anything crazy, or I didn't want to make a video or anything yet because there were so many moves happening. With this year, I feel like, well, yes, there are a lot of big moves that happen, especially with all the winners that I'm about to go over. There are a lot of big moves that happen. I feel like it's kind of going to slow down, and there's only so many more big moves that we can really talk about in a sense, to the point where I feel more comfortable making this video while the off season isn't necessarily over with, but I feel like it's close enough to where I can get away with it. So, with that being said, enough with all the chit chat. Let's get into some of the winners. And just to rattle off some names, obviously Dallas, Philadelphia, New York, those are teams that I'll go more in depth on in a little bit. But to shout out some teams that have some really good off seasons as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder, that got Isaiah Hartenstein, a phenomenal backup big, probably is going to even start next to Chet, which I think will be the case. Some other teams that I think did solid and did what they needed to do for, I would just say, for their team needs in off season. A team like the Orlando Magic, that guy KCP, who desperately fixes their spacing issue. While yes, I think I would like them to get a little bit more spacing because while yes, KCP is a phenomenal 3D guy, I think they should go get a little bit more, but that's just me. Um, and other teams, there's a fly in here that's just flying around. Other teams like that. And the Spurs did what they were supposed to do and got a player like Chris Paul to pair alongside Victor Wembanyama, but also not him, but their fourth round draft pick that they got in the first round in Stephon Castle. There's a draft mention. There you go. Um, and pairing him and giving him a mentor, kind of doing the same shit that he did when he was in the Thunder with SGA. And I say kind of with the Spurs because I'll get into it later in the video because I got some shit to say about the Chris Paul trade. Nothing too crazy, but just a little bit something to say about the Chris Paul trade. But all in all, this has been a solid offseason. But I think the definitive winners, or let me not say definitive, one of the biggest winners for this offseason has been the Dallas Mavericks. And obviously, we're going to go over their moves in just a second as we look as the Dallas Mavericks grabbed Quentin Grimes, another shooter from the Detroit Pistons, as they moved off of their expiring contract that was Tim Hardaway Jr. Najee Marshall, they grabbed him from Pelicans with a 3-year deal. And obviously, the most important name on this list and the biggest name on this list is grabbing one Klay Thompson via sign in trade from the Golden State Warriors. Now, the deal is not officially set in stone. I think the Warriors went around and was saying, like, we haven't officially agreed or anything, and yada, yada, yada. And it flies back and all this other stuff. Well, most likely the deal is done. The deal is most likely done. The Mavericks are going to roll into the 2024-2025 season with Klay Thompson as their shooting guard slash small forward. Now, I like the deal. I like for one, even just without the Klay Thompson thing, the Najee Marshall thing, I think is also a very big move because they moved off of Derrick Jones Jr., who was phenomenal for them their whole playoff run and his ability to shoot corner threes and his ability to slash and get to the basket in terms of catching lobs and just things of that nature and solid on a defensive end. However, he was limited to the certain things that he can do because if he wasn't in that corner three, he wasn't hitting the shot. If you made him try to take anything off the dribble, it most likely ended in a turnover. And this was kind of the thing of Dallas when it came to them in the finals is that if your name wasn't Luka or Kyrie, you were going to have to make a play. Luka and Kyrie, cool. Y'all niggas gonna do what y'all gonna do. But PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., hell, Derek Lively, Tim Hardaway, y'all motherfuckers, y'all are going to be the ones that's gonna have to really show me something. Y'all, that's Boston was like, hey man, we know what Luka and Kyrie can do, but y'all others, as Shaq likes to call them, y'all gonna have to be the ones that's gonna step up. And obviously, I can't harp on them too much because all season long, not even just postseason, all season long, that's way out of the rule. Tim Hardaway Jr. is nothing but a spot up shooter. He gets hot from time to time, but his role is not to take shit off the dribble. Same thing with a PJ Washington. Same thing with a Derrick Jones Jr. Same thing with a Derek Lively, who was a rookie, but even still. And even just clogging up that paint that cut off all of those lob threats and shit like that for them, for Luka and Kyrie was phenomenal with the Boston Celtics. So doing that and adding someone like a Quentin Grimes who can also shoot the ball, play a little bit of defense, and a Najee Marshall who adds toughness to this team, also shoot the ball, be able to get out of transition. And obviously, we know what Klay Thompson does outside of the 0-10 in the elimination game. He adds a fuck ton of spacing and a bunch of needed shooting to this team that doesn't just simply rely on being in the corner and hoping that PJ Washington and hoping that Derrick Jones Jr. can hit their shot. So I like Dallas a lot. I really like their move. I really, really, really like what they did in this offseason. Obviously, Klay Thompson had a bunch of other suitors. Being that the Lakers really wanted him, being that Orlando, who I mentioned, also really wanted him. Hell, teams like the Clippers was thrown in the mix a little bit. Philly was also thrown in the mix a little bit that really wanted Klay Thompson just simply for the fact that while, yes, his knees are gone and defense is out the picture, we really, really, really would really want that shooting that Klay Thompson has. And even though last season wasn't some of his best numbers in terms of shooting the ball, really last season was just an all around bad year for Klay Thompson as we quickly look at his numbers real quick. And just looking at his numbers on the season as a whole, last year averaged around 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, basically is still in the block a game. But the shooting percentages in terms of the field goal and even the 3-point percentage, not up to the usual Klay Thompson standard that we're used to seeing. So when you look at a Klay Thompson that's shooting 43% from the field, but also for other players, this is phenomenal. But for a Klay Thompson standard, especially last season, especially the Warriors mess that was last season, shooting around 39% from the field, with a true shooting percentage around 58%. So it's more of a Clay is on a redemption tour and a much needed one because Clay got a lot of the slack for last season. Much needed, much deserved because again, he did not play well last season. He didn't play well last season. If you go strictly just off the stats, you would think he just had a down shooting year, but he played relatively well. If you watch the games and watch this man, Clay Thompson, again, defensively, he has regressed a fuck ton. Shooting wise, everyone knows the 0 for 10, 0 for 6 game against the Kings in the elimination game. Everyone knows how bad he was in that game. And even that, there's just other games where in just he just had bad shooting games and he just looked like a former shell of himself. And even in different press conferences and things of that nature, he would just be very down on himself to the point where like fans were like, damn, Clay, like we still fuck with you, but like it's just a bad you just shoot better, just play better. It's not that damn serious. To the point where it's like, damn, you feel bad for him. So I do want this deal to work out. I do think that Clay can add a lot of things to this Dallas Mavericks team. Again, a team that desperately needed spacing and desperately needed shooting. Because if you go back and you watch that Boston Celtics series, hell, if you really go back and watch their postseason run, if you weren't Luka or Kyrie Irving, man, that spacing was bad. Shooting the ball was bad. And while yes, prior towards the finals, you could have easily just been fooled by it. PJ Washington's hitting the shot. Derrick Jones, you was hitting the shot. Luka, Kyrie are being phenomenal. What do we need to worry about? The thing is, when you play a solid, damn near great all-time defensive type team in the Boston Celtics, and not even just them, playing a team like the Denver Nuggets, playing a team like the Lakers, playing a team like the Bucks, playing a team like the new look Sixers that's gonna have a lot of defense, playing a team like there's gonna play a team like Minnesota. While yes, Minnesota did lose to them, it was strictly off the coaching and bad matchups. If Rudy Gobert is not on that floor as much as he was, and it's Nas Reed instead of him, I think that series goes longer than what it did. So it will be interesting to see how they will be able to incorporate Clay, that being a Jason Kidd job, how they can incorporate him off the off ball, obviously, screens for him, pin downs, all this type of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Clay. Obviously, I think a lot of people were saying that Clay starts. I mean, yeah, he does. I don't think he should, in my opinion. I think that's why I still think that Dallas has some stuff that they could go out and get because there are some other free agents that are still lingering out there that they could possibly go snag. But if they don't and Clay ends up starting, I don't hate it. I do think though that wherever Clay went in this offseason, he should, I think, better suits his role coming off the bench. For one, there's less pressure on him, and two, I don't think it puts as much pressure on him in terms of defense because as we know, the knees of Clay is damn near gone. So he's not the same defender that he is, and most likely he's going to have to play that three position. There's a lot of talented threes in the league. So hell, if you want to put him at the two or the three and just say fuck it, Kyrie run the one, Luka run the three, and Clay run the two, which is a terrible, terrible fucking lineup. I've been seeing a lot of people say that shit, which is god awful. But if you want to run that type of lineup and just say, "Hey Clay, we're going to stick you on the best defender," shit doesn't work anymore. That shit doesn't work because he's not the best. We're going to send you on the best offensive player because that shit does not work no more. So I just really hope that they utilize Clay and just strictly use him as, hey, we know you're not the same defender, but hey, we got a Najee Marshall. Hey, we still got PJ Washington. Hey, we still got all these other great defenders on our team like a Derek Lively and Dan Gafford. Use this that's up here and mentor them. Teach them. Teach them. And we can use them in the future like you were used back in Golden State. We can stick them on the other team's best scorer or the best offensive player and have you roam because you're going to be energized and because you're actually going to be motivated to actually win. Because going into this, Clay said he was offered more years and more money from other teams, which I'm assuming were the other teams that were pursuing Clay, like Lakers, like Orlando and shit like that. but he came to Dallas, took less money, took less years because he really felt like this was the best place for him to get his fifth ring and also state income tax. But and I agree. I do think this is one of the best places that he could have went to really give him the best chance to try and go win a ring that obviously isn't a stacked team like the Boston Celtics or the fucking Denver Nuggets and shit like that. But with all that being said, I really do like this move. I really do like what Dallas is doing. I'm interested to see how they're going to incorporate him. I really do think that Clay adds a lot for this team outside of just his shooting. I think his mind as well is what's really going to help this team in terms of defense. Like I said, use that knowledge that you have. And I think a lot of basketball players forget that they are smart on the court, that they can teach these other young players in terms of defense, in terms of offense, in terms of doing that. And I will say with this, with Chris Paul, he's learned that well on faster than a lot of players have. They really feel like more of a, I want to show that I still have it, opposed to just say, fuck it, I ain't got it no more. But I'm gonna teach these young niggas that obviously have it and let them go be great. So I think Klay Thompson can do that in that regard. So shout out to the Dallas Mavericks. Shout out to Klay Thompson. Shout out to Najee Marshall. Shout out to Quentin Grimes. Shout out to Luka and them. Obviously, phenomenal run last year. And we'll see if they make any other moves. Obviously, I doubt that they make a big ass move like anything of that nature. But I think they could still. There's still a few other pieces they could add. That probably wait till like the trade deadline. Maybe it's a disgruntled star or disgruntled role player that they can add. So we'll see. Moving on. The Philadelphia 76ers, they had themselves an offseason as well. As we move over to Philadelphia, they did what a lot of people expected them to do in terms of getting Paul George. As we see, outside of obviously Paul George, getting him for a 4-year deal, 212 million, I believe. They also got a solid, much needed backup center who was here before and Drummond for 2 years. Eric Gordon, solid sharpshooter off the bench for them that they desperately needed in terms of spacing. Kelly Oubre is back for 2 years, but I think just as important as the Paul George trade, or not trade, but signing, was bringing back Tyrese Maxey for 5 years, which obviously I didn't expect. I don't think anybody named Mama expected Tyrese Maxey to go anywhere. I don't think the Sixers would be dumb enough to let Tyrese Maxey walk in the free agency. But also, I think as much as important as the Paul George not trade, I keep saying trade, signing is, Tyrese Maxey is just as important because stamping and locking down that future of Philadelphia 76ers and also sneaking in a couple draft picks that they had. Jared McCain, the TikTok dance, the TikTok boy from Duke. Let me stop. TikTok, the TikTok guy that goes viral for all the TikToks and shit, was also drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. And if the one of the few players that I actually paid attention to in college, he can shoot the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can dribble a little bit. He can take shit off the dribble. But his biggest strength is that he shoots the fuck out that basketball. So, 76ers, I would say probably at the best offseason out of any team. You're getting back a healthy Joel Embiid, hopefully. Bringing back Tyrese Maxey for 5 years. Filling out their roster and bringing back Kelly Oubre, which I think is a very underrated move. Getting a player like an Eric Gordon. Getting an Andre Drummond as a backup center for getting a backup center for Joel Embiid in terms of Andre Drummond, moving off of Tobias Harris, which they should have done years ago, and also finally the nail in the coffin is bringing in Paul George. This is a great fucking move. This is a great fucking offseason, man. Now, obviously, on paper, Philly has not been shy of having one of the best rosters on paper. Hell, we can go back to them days when it was Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And on paper, that was one of the best rosters. Hell, that was probably the best starting lineup in all of the fucking NBA. And we've seen what they have. We've seen what they've become. We've seen what happened. And including JJ Redick in there as well. I forgot JJ Redick. But with that being said, I'm simply just doing this video grading their off-season move. I'll talk about what I think they'll become later down the line in a later video, but strictly off of what they done in the off-season, they did everything right. Daryl Morey and those dudes in the GM office did everything that they were supposed to. They went out and got another star to pair alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and who can score, who can play make, he can defend a little bit. And the biggest problem with this team is strictly just going to be that is going to be the biggest problem with this team because obviously Joel Embiid last season was hurt, and Tyrese Maxey, it was his first year as like a real number one option, and he took him as far as he could, that being the 7th seed, and they took the Knicks as far as they could. But again, Joel was out there playing with like one eye, half a knee, half of a other knee. Like, hopefully, I'm really, really hoping because I do like Joel. I do like Joel more than a lot of other people do. I do like Paul George a lot more than a lot of other people do. You would think that I'm a Philadelphia fan, but I'm not. But I really do, I really, really, really do like this team on paper. Again, I'm stay away from predictions. I'm not going to go as far as to say this is the best team in the East. I'm not going to go as far as to say this is the best team in all of the NBA. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say if things do work out and if we're coming into this season healthy and season throughout, I'm not saying they need to play all 82 games. I'm very, very, very sure that Paul George and Joel Embiid are both going to miss a couple games, and that's fine. It's just in terms of the longing injuries like Joel and his knee, and hell, Paul George with his legs as well. It's more of hoping that they can just stay healthy enough to get this team not only to the playoffs, but also to make a deep playoff run. That is obviously a goal with this team. Obviously, the goal with this team is not just to make to the Eastern, to get past the second round, is to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, to get that monkey off Joel's back. But the goal of this team is to get an NBA championship. That is the 100% goal of this team. I won't let none of you Philly fans stir me otherwise. I won't hear it to say, well, oh no, we just really no. The goal of this team is to get a fucking championship. I'm not saying they need it this year, but in the 4 years that you have Paul George, y'all niggas gotta get it done. Simple as that. Simple as that. In the 4 years that they got Paul George here, y'all have to get it done. You have to. You have to somehow, some way make it to the finals, let alone get past the second round. If this team in the 4 years that they have Paul George and Joel and all that shit, and they don't get past the second round, and there's probably gonna be because of injuries. Again, I'm hoping they don't. Fingers crossed. But if it's because of injuries, at that point, Paul George gotta get up. Joel, you gotta get the fuck out. We're just gonna build around Maxey. No, no, we're not doing this. But again, that's moving too far ahead in the future. Just strictly based off what they've done in the offseason. I really do like all of Philadelphia's move. They've done really everything they needed to do. Get a backup big in Drummond who played solid, who knows the system and the Philadelphia system as he was there before he went to Chicago, who's played well, can take a lot of the pressure off of Joel and hopefully let him rest to the point where he's not playing as many minutes. Kelly Oubre, who's a solid 3-and-D guy, mainly there for his defense, facilitate, slash, and shit like that. Do it all type of guy. You really need. I feel like every team should have that type of guy on the team, and a Kelly Oubre. And also, the fans of Philly love him. Eric Gordon, leaving Phoenix, coming to Philadelphia, sharpshooter, really doesn't have to be too much of an explanation. Him alongside Buddy Hield, and also Maxey, who continues to grow, and also throwing in a Paul George, who can shoot the ball a little bit. I think also helps this team in terms of spacing because it's not just all on Buddy Hield to just like, you're our one shooter, so you need to hit every single shot that you take or we're screwed. So you add in another shooter, or two more shooters in a sense, in terms of a Paul George and an Eric Gordon. So I really do like this move, man. I really do like their offseason as a whole, like I said, obviously bringing back Tyrese Maxey, I think is just as big as the Paul George move because again, I didn't expect Philadelphia to move off of Maxey and let him walk, especially after the year he had and after the playoffs he had. But you're solidifying the future of Philadelphia in Maxey and hopefully in Joel Embiid. So nothing else really to say about Philadelphia. I think they had probably the best offseason out of any team. So yeah, shout out to Philadelphia. Shout out to them. They did what they're supposed to do. They had a phenomenal offseason. And yeah. Now on to another team that had also a really good offseason that possibly could get even better. That made a move very early on that I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough that I kind of forgot about is the New York Knicks. Bringing back OG Anunoby for 5 years. And obviously, the biggest one right under that is bringing in Mikal Bridges from the trade that they made with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, damn, this is only two moves. How can this be such a big move? Now, obviously, and I mentioned earlier that the Knicks did lose Isaiah Hartenstein to Oklahoma City Thunder, who's literally right here. And like I mentioned, the Thunder, I didn't want to make this video too long, but the Thunder also had a very, very good fucking offseason. Very good offseason. But with that being said, the Knicks had done something that I don't think I've ever seen in the NBA is that essentially pool a bunch of players that played with each other in college, being Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges from Villanova and translate it to a team in the NBA. They are running off the power of friendship alone, and I'm here for it. That's a big reason why they're winning, in my book. I'm lying. That's not the biggest reason, but it's a small part because holy shit, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Now, does this fix all of New York's problem? Fuck no. No, Mitchell Robinson is still there. He still hurts. But I'm assuming after moving off Isaiah Hartenstein, they're going to stick with Mitch Robinson. They do need to go get a backup big because, again, Mitch is still injury prone. They do have Precious Achiuwa still, but I don't think he's the shot blocker or big that you would really want to be your backup big in terms of, coming behind someone like Isaiah Hartenstein, who was so pivotal to that team and who was so important to that team in terms of the playoffs alone when Mitch wasn't on the court as well. And also, Julius Randle was still there. By on the contract, he's still there. So I don't know what they're doing with Julius. That's why New York is still winners by the end. Like they still won. They still brought back OG Anunoby, who was really good for them before he messed up his elbow, and Mikal Bridges, who also has expressed interest of playing not only with a team in New York, as he's come from Brooklyn, but he's also expressed interest of playing with his former college mates, being the Villanova boys or the Nova boys for short. So it makes not only the team chemistry through the fucking roof, it makes Tom Thibodeau's job even easier because you have a player in a Mikal Bridges who rarely gets hurt. Like, I don't think he's missed a single game since high school, college, and I think in the NBA as well. So you have another 3-and-D guy. You have a dude who shown in Brooklyn that he can score the ball without, relying on someone else. He can facilitate. He can put the ball on the floor. He can score in that mid post level. He can shoot the three, yada, yada, yada. So, and also, I think one of his bigger strengths is that he's a good to great defensive player. Not like he's still kind of good. No, Mikal Bridges is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA still. And he's also relatively still young. And it matches, again, the vibe of the team. New York is really just getting the spot because, like, vibe-wise, them niggas just out there to have fun. And also, on paper, this is still a very good team. Jalen Brunson is not only going to still be there, but he's going to have another year on his belt of being a number one option. Josh Hart is still there. Dante DiVincenzo played so goddamn good in those playoffs. I only imagine him to get better. Not to say he's going to be a 20-point per game scorer, but he's still going to be that reliable spacing and three-point shooter that this team also desperately needs. Again, and also Mikal Bridges being there. Again, I still am curious what they're going to do with Julius Randle because he's still on the team. And I really feel like they should move off of him to get even more pieces, not only for that front court, but mainly for that bench to ride out. Because whenever I know Tom Thibodeau, he loves to play his players all fucking 48 minutes of the game. But you can't do that if you expect them to make a deep playoff run because it showed last year. Because once the second round hit, every single Knicks player had some injury. Something was wrong because not only were players injured coming into that series prior, their bodies just shut down. So if Tom Thibodeau, which has been his way of coaching since the Boston days, before he even became a head coach in Chicago, when he was a defensive-minded assistant coach backing up fucking Doc Rivers in 2008 when he was in Boston. It's been his coaching style since I could remember, since I can remember being a basketball fan. If you really, really, really want to just run your players into the fucking dirt, why not just give them a shit ton of players? Just give them a shit ton of players that's matches the vibe of the team, but also not only matches the vibe of the team, but also fits the play style of the team. Gritty, in the nose, space the ball. Shit, if you need another playmaker off the bench, you have that. Like, and Julius Randle, I think also I feel like this team wants to play fast. Well, yes, you have a Jalen Brunson who can slow the game down with that mid post, with that mid range area that he likes to operate in. This team, relatively speaking, is very fast. They like to play fast. And when Julius Randle, not to say he can't play in transition, Julius Randle likes that ISO ball, like that, let me da 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 da. And he's just simply not good enough to do that on this team because it also just takes the ball out of a lot of other quality players' hand, like a DiVincenzo, like a Mikal Bridges, who they now have on the fucking team, and also more importantly, like a Jalen Brunson. So the reason why they're not higher is because I don't know what they're doing with Julius Randle. But I personally think they should move off of him. Also because he's just going to simply be too much money to pay in that type of player, and because even if he is relatively healthy, which last year was like one of the rare seasons where he was hurt, but if they do pay him a bunch of money, you're going to be locked up in not only Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, Mikal Bridges, who you have now, but he is a very, 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 very well known playoff dropper. Like ever since he came to New York, when it comes to playoff time, Julius Randle does not elevate and get his game in the playoffs. If anything, he gets worse in the playoffs. So I think this would be the perfect time to move off of him. Where he goes, I don't know. But I would think that if I'm the New York Knicks, I try to move off of Julius Randle. If they can't, then say, fuck it, roll it out. We try to do it again. Hopefully he can buy into the system of like not so much ISO ball, but just strictly him and, try to play fast. But again, we'll have to see. But with all that out the window, again, shout out to all the winners. Not only just the team like the New York Knicks, the Sixers, and the Mavs, but other teams like I mentioned, the Orlando Magic, the OKC Thunder, the Spurs to a degree. I really would like to shout out all the teams that done great this offseason. Now, to the teams that I would classify as losers this offseason. And thinking about it, I could realistically use the same type of thumbnail. I'm not going to, but I can use the same thumbnail for when I had the trade deadline months ago. with the Lakers, with the Lakers, and I think it was the Lakers and Knicks was like a part of the winners and the losers, and I had like the Mavs and the Bulls like one of the losers. Because it seems like it's the same shit all over again. And with one of our biggest losers this upcoming season, we have the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Golden State Warriors obviously losing Klay Thompson and Chris Paul. As we look here, it doesn't say Klay Thompson, but obviously letting go of Chris Paul, waiving Chris Chris Paul and letting go of Klay Thompson. I don't know why. I don't know why that just cooked the fuck out of me. But only bringing in DeAnthony Melton for a year and getting Lindy Waters a third from the Thunder. That's it. That's all they've done. Again, this is liable to change. They could make another move. They could probably actually go get Zach LaVine, like they were tempted to do, and the Bulls actually say, you know what, fuck it, get Zach. We're gonna give you Zach, which I don't think is gonna happen. They fuck it. We're gonna give you DeMar, which again I don't think is gonna happen. And the reason why the Warriors are here is just for the simple fact of I don't know what they're doing. I don't. Like I mentioned earlier, they were very close. They were willing to give Paul George 4 year, however much money he wanted, and they have the money to do that. But when it came to Jonathan Kuminga, they was like, okay, the Clippers were like, hey, give us Kuminga. No. Excuse me? What do you mean no? You're not the Warriors for some reason are still trying to do this thing where they're trying to stay young with a player like a Jonathan Kuminga they can build their future around while also trying to utilize everything that they can. Let me put my fingers out. They can utilize everything that they can with Steph Curry and Draymond while they still have them. Newsflash, that shit is not working. Newsflash, that shit hasn't worked when you had the second overall pick. When y'all drafted James Wiseman instead of just trading it to go get an all-star. Now, yes, they did eventually get a championship in 2022. And again, I applaud them. I applaud them to and from, especially Steph, because he got that finals MVP that he should have got a long ass time ago. But that right there should have been the biggest send-off for that team. And I really, really think that teams need to be more open to making moves after you win a championship. I really do. And as crazy as that sounds, that should have been the year where they said, hey, if we really gonna try to run this shit back again, Clay or Draymond, y'all niggas gotta get the fuck out of here. Instead of that happening, Draymond punches Jordan Poole in the face. Draymond goes to the Warriors, the GM office, and says, hey, this is the ultimatum. Either he stays or I'm gone. And because of all what Draymond has done for the Golden State Warriors, Jordan Poole is packed the fuck up. Dumbest thing that they've done. They should have never got rid of Jordan Poole. Should have got rid of Draymond Green while he was at his highest value. Not highest, but while he had a relatively high value. But if they didn't want to move on Draymond, they should have been moved the fuck off of Clay. They should have been moved off of Clay. And if they were, if by any means you look at me and say, Jalen, this is stupid. You can't break up that dynasty. You can't break up that dynasty. Okay, fine. Jordan Poole was the right move to move. You shouldn't have got an old ass point guard in Chris Paul in return. What the fuck did you think that was going to do? What did you possibly think Chris Paul, a 37, 38-year-old point guard, was going to bring to a Golden State team that already had a bunch of old ass 30-year-olds on it, with only one of them being able to be somewhat good, being Steph? What the fuck did you think that was going to bring? Please tell me, because I genuinely want to know. What did that going to bring? Nothing. So we look at the offseason now, you get rid of Chris, you get rid of Clay, you had an opportunity to get in some type of an all-star, whether it had been Zach LaVine or whether it had been a Paul George. but you decline both because you're still trying to push this stupid ass narrative of trying to stay young while also trying to be championship contenders. It does not work. We've seen it multiple times. It does not work. It doesn't. Not only with y'all, but with Boston. Boston is a perfect example. Boston's a perfect example. 2019. 2019, if you look at that Boston Celtics roster, one of the most stacked NBA rosters I think I've ever seen in my entire life. They were very young while also trying to be championship oriented. And we saw what happened to that team. It wasn't until they moved off of Kyrie Irving, they moved off the Gordon Hayward, they moved off of all the pieces that wasn't right for them, and actually honed in on the players that could actually get them a championship, actually make them a championship contender. Now, if you genuinely feel like Steph and Draymond are the two that y'all can really hone in on, specifically more Steph than Draymond, because Draymond ass can't stay on the court, but more Steph than Draymond. And you know Steph is aging. Steph is not 25 no more. Steph is not 26 no more. Steph is damn near 35 years old. Steph is getting up there in age. And while, yes, he's still producing like he's 25 and like he's 26, damn near you can say just as good, if not better, that does not mean that you can just grind the last piece of superstardom out of him while not producing any type of wins. Not only that, playoff wins. Not only that, championship. Again, yes, 2022 got them a ring. And that was more on the back of Steph is like, yo, I'm not losing this bitch. And on top of that, them having an easy road to the finals, but that never gets brought up. But again, I don't understand. I don't know what the Warriors are doing. I genuinely don't know what the Warriors are doing. I really don't know. I really don't know. And it's baffling to me and it's really confusing to me because they always have opportunity after opportunity to really like pick and choose which way they want to go, but they keep wanting to do this tweener shit and ride in the middle and just be like, we're not gonna be fully committed to being a rebuild. But we're not going to be fully committed to championship contenders. That shit is not going to work. It's simply not going to work. It's just not. So I honestly think, and it's sad to say that the Warriors are going to roll out the same roster that they had last year, just minus Klay Thompson and minus Chris Paul, probably some extra little role players sprinkled in here and there, and they're going to try and go win a championship. Steph and Draymond are going to go in the media and say, "Hey, especially Draymond, as long as we got Steph, we have a chance." No, the fuck you don't. No, the fuck you don't. You don't. I'm gonna just be blunt. I'm gonna just be honest. You don't. Steph is gonna go and do the same shit. No, you do not. You don't. Simple as that. Y'all had a chance multiple times, multiple chances throughout the years, throughout this dynasty to prolong the dynasty even more, and y'all squandered them to try and hold on to the little young players that y'all have while not just shipping their ass off if you really are about trying to go win a championship. And instead, now you got to realistically be in the possibility of like, shit, we got to move off of Steph and Draymond. Because I guarantee you, as much as Steph loves Golden State and as much as Draymond loves Golden State, if you roll out that team with some sprinkled in role players and them motherfuckers don't even make the play-in or get beat in the play-in 2 years in a row, Steph and Draymond are out of there. And relatively probably going to be for nothing. Now, am I saying they should trade them this year? Probably. I'm going to be honest, maybe. Honestly, maybe. They probably should. Because at this point, you're blowing everything up. The dynasty has been over with since this past season. People saying, "Oh, the dynasty's been over with." Dynasty's been over with. Been over with. So realistically, saying this team probably is going to look totally different. This team could be from going Steph Curry, Draymond, and everybody else to just everybody else, Kaminga and everybody. Again, if they're really relying that Jonathan Kaminga can make this huge leap and be the second star that Steph Curry desperately needs, which again seems unfair to Kaminga because while yes, this is the opportunity that he wanted and he showed flashes of it last season, it's I feel like it's unfair because it's like now if they don't make the playoffs, it's like well fuck, can't blame Steph, can't blame Draymond, can't blame Steve Kerr. Fuck it, fuck Kaminga. It's this guy's fault. He's not elevating like the way that we want him to. So I don't know. I don't know what the Warriors are doing, and it's so frustrating to me. Just for the simple fact that I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think they know what they're doing either. So yeah, the Warriors, I think, without a doubt, is the biggest loser. Without a doubt, is the biggest loser this offseason, just for the simple fact. And it's not even the fact that they're losing a bunch of players because if they were to go and trade Steph and Draymond or even go trade Steph or whatever, I can understand that because it's like, okay, fuck it, we're gonna just rebuild. Fuck it. Steph, we need you out. Draymond, we need you out. We already got rid of Clay and CP. All y'all niggas can get the fuck out. We've been trying to do this tweener shit for way too long. At this point, everybody can go. We just need everybody out and we're just gonna start over. But instead of that, they're just gonna keep trying to roll out the same team and just pray and hope that Steph can do what he did in 2022 without the pieces that he had in 2022, I guess. But the next biggest loser this offseason is none other than the Lakers. Niggas is gonna think I hate the Lakers the way I be talking about them. Kind of the same thing with the Lakers, not as harsh as I was on Golden State, just for the simple fact that they actually made somewhat of a decent move and bringing back Max Christie for a 4-year deal. But obviously, like I mentioned earlier, with the Dallas Mavericks and Klay Thompson and Paul George and shit like that, the Lakers, I wouldn't say are as harsh as a loser as in terms of off season as I would say the Golden State Warriors were, just for the simple fact that the Lakers team I think is overall better, and I think the Lakers are in a much better situation. Well, not that great, but still in a better situation than the Warriors are. Um, they have still some free agents that they can go get. DeMar DeRozan had expressed a lot of disinterest in the Bulls and not wanting to be there. And after the Caruso trade and all that other stuff, and they obviously missed out on Klay Thompson. They missed out on Jonas Valanciunas, who also signed with the Wizards, who was willing to take a pay cut for. And it's like, yeah, if you can get those two guys, I'm willing to take a pay cut. Obviously, that shit didn't happen. So it is interesting to see what they will do. I still classify them as a loser because they didn't get the guys they wanted to go get. And they are still coming into another year with the Asian LeBron, a very, 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 very new head coach in JJ Redick, and coaching experience is just as much as mine because the last coaching job that JJ Redick had was for like a fourth grade AAU team. And I'm not. Oh, so I guess he has more coaching experience because I never coached an AAU team. But and with that being said, it's damn near like me going to go coach. But while JJ Redick is one of the more brilliant basketball minds from a former player, as we've seen with him commentating alongside, during the finals, literally it just happened like a month ago or 2 months ago. With the Three and the Old Man podcast that he's been running ever since he's retired from what's it called? Mind the Game or Mind the Basketball, some shit he had with LeBron, which a lot of people in hindsight are just looking at it was more of like a coaching thing, like a coaching interview. Those little small episodes that we had. And it is sucks. It is gonna suck that we won't have any more podcasts from JJ Redick now that he's gonna be a coach. So that is a little bit of a downer, but we just simply have to wait and see what this team will look like because again, like I mentioned earlier, the offseason technically isn't over with. There are still decent amount of free agents that are still out there, like a Tyus Jones, who I think could fit really well for a team, hell, like the Lakers that need another ball handler to play alongside, especially coming off that bench. Um, and shit like that. So, and like I mentioned, DeMar, who also is expressed playing in the Lakers jersey and playing in LA. Now, will it be for the Lakers or will it be for the Clippers? I don't know necessarily because he does not want to be in Chicago anymore. And the Lakers seem like the team that would go give him a fuck ton of money um, to go get DeMar. Now, do they go get him? I don't know. But I think that would be something that I see them doing in the long term. Where I think they should do, I honestly think they should just try to fill out the roster as best they can. Definitely go and get some backup bigs or a big to play alongside Anthony Davis to stop him from playing the five. Because as great as Anthony Davis is, his natural position is the power forward position, is the forward position. So if they can go try and go snag a big or something like that, uh, play alongside AD or even to come off the bench to relieve AD from being that fifth, from being the center position. I think that would be good, and just try and fill out some space and try and fill out some defense as much as possible, and just say fuck it, we're gonna roll the ball out and see what happens. Because I think that's the best case scenario that really can happen for this team. Do I think they should go get a player like DeMar DeRozan? No. No. I don't, not to say that DeMar is bad, I just don't think he fits that team. I just don't think he fits that team, let alone that starting lineup. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Again, the Lakers are in this position just for the simple fact that the players that they wanted to go get, like a Klay Thompson, like a Jonas Valanciunas, hell, a Paul George, who was sprinkled in that Lakers talk as well. It just wasn't that good of a off season for them because they didn't get the guys they wanted. And on top of that, they still have to pay LeBron James. So him not getting the players that he wanted, does he still take the pay cut? I don't know. We'll see. I think he should if he's genuinely serious about winning. But if he doesn't take the pay cut, that's a lot of money that's going to be locked up in LeBron and AD, aging LeBron, mind you. But we'll see. We'll see, man. Now to the final losers. And I put losers in quotations just for the simple fact of one of these teams that I said earlier was a winner, and the other team is, I think, obviously a loser. Um, but I'm going to address the loser, that being the Chicago Bulls. Now, I wouldn't, again, I'm not going to go too harsh on the Bulls because I feel like the Bulls, while yes, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are still on the roster and shouldn't be on the roster because both of those guys have expressed wanting to leave. So obviously, DeMar, after they got Josh Giddey from the Thunder trade and bringing in Jalen Smith for 3 years and bringing back Patrick Williams for 5 years, which I don't have that much of a problem with. I really like this Jalen Smith one, if I'm being honest. Um, but the Josh Giddey thing is what really set off a player that really set off DeMar and his whole "we got rid of Caruso for Giddey." Yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah, get me the fuck up out of here, man. I'm gone. I'm gone. You can ship me somewhere else. So, um, with Chicago, they've always made questionable moves. Come whether it be trade deadline, whether it be off-season moves, hell, whether it be in the game. So that's why I've kind of expected this from them. That's why I'm not going to go as hard on them as you may see a lot of other content creators do, like a Kenny Beecham, like a King of the Fourth Quarter, who spazzed on them niggas last year during the trade deadline, which was so funny. But just for the simple fact of the shit that they planned out to do, which was move off of Zach LaVine and try to get something in return, which they didn't do, on part of the Warriors being dumb as well. But now, having another frustrated star on that team, being a DeMar DeRozan, not knowing what to do with him now because he doesn't want to be there. And most likely, either you move him now or he's most likely going to be one of moved around the trade deadline. And we know what the Bulls do when it comes to the trade deadline. I don't trust that they'll move him. So then you have two stars. Are also, well, yes, I think the biggest glimmer of hope will be Lonzo's coming back so he can possibly fill in that Caruso role. But Lonzo hasn't played organized basketball for like 2.5, almost 3 years now. You really don't want to put that much pressure on him in his first real year back of playing NBA basketball, let alone organized basketball. So the Bulls are just in a fuck ton of mess. They're just in a bad situation, in my humble opinion. What I would have done if I'm them, get rid of everybody. Not for the lack of trying. Again, the Bulls tried to move off Zach. I don't know if they're trying to move off DeMar. Again, we don't know anything yet. But we're just rebuilding. We got Kobe White. He's shown promise. He's shown promise. We have Patrick Williams coming back. We got Jalen Smith. Again, I really like that move. Josh Giddey, while he's not the greatest player, he's a good playmaker that we can have and that can run the offense alongside Kobe White. And we're just gonna say fuck it. We're gonna rebuild. We're just gonna rebuild. But the thing is, it shouldn't have come to this situation because Caruso should have been moved last year. Zach LaVine should have been moved last year. Hell, DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic, all them niggas should have been moved last year. And even then, if you didn't want to say DeMar, Caruso and Zach should have been gone. They should have been gone. Been gone. They should have not been on this team coming into the offseason. Because then if them two are already gone, you can then focus on trying to move off of DeMar and Vucevic. Or if you want to keep Vooch, fuck it. Move off of DeMar. Get him gone. Not because he's ass, because of the simple fact that we're rebuilding. Give him a chance to go win a championship in LA, in fucking Dallas, in Denver, wherever the fuck. Get him gone. But instead, we now have this problem where this offseason, Zach LaVine is still here. DeMar DeRozan is upset and now is still here. Vucevic is still here. And no one wants these players. No one wants them. Now, instead of last year when players actually wanted them motherfuckers, even this offseason when people wanted these motherfuckers, the Bulls either said no to the deal, didn't want the deal, or simply didn't try hard enough to pursue and actually get a deal to happen. Or vice versa, the team that they were trying to deal with made dumb decisions via the Warriors. So I just feel bad for Bulls fans. I do feel bad for y'all. Again, I'm from Chicago. I've lived here for majority of my life. And I've watched a lot of Bulls fans up and down, talk about this team in a positive light, in a negative light, more negative than positive. So I feel bad, but I can't feel that bad because the team is doing it to themselves. The front office is doing it to itself. And they aren't going to care because United Center is going to sell out night in and night out because the Bulls are still the Bulls. So until that, really the biggest, they're going to continue, the Bulls are going to continuously be the biggest loser every single offseason, every single trade deadline, until that front office actually continues to sit on his ass and not do anything. They're going to continue to be the laughing stock of the NBA if that front office will continue to keep rolling out mediocre every single year and squandering the players that they had that actually are worth a damn or actually can bring in assets like a Caruso that they just had, like like a Kobe White who's blossomed into a solid player that could potentially be something. We don't know yet, but fuck, he's something. He's something. And now, again, you can't really equate for injuries because again, Lonzo Ball, even if they moved off Caruso, they would have had Lonzo, but no one could have predicted that Alonso was going to be hurt and was going to be out for that long. So I can't fault them too much for the Alonso deal because at the time it made sense. And at the time when they were playing together alongside DeMar, alongside Zach, and all this other shit, it worked. They were the number one seed before the All Star break. The shit was working. Were they going to win a championship? No, but it was working. So again, and they're going to continue. This team is going to continue to continuously be losers as long as that front office is still up there being a front office. Now, on to the Spurs. On to the Spurs. I'm the Spurs are more lose, and I could have chose any other team to be this spot. I could have chose the Hawks. They got rid of DeJounte for a bag of fucking chips. Who is probably the better choice. But the reason I picked the Spurs, in particular, for one, is a little bit of clickbait, but two, I, I really don't like the Chris Paul move. Now, I mentioned earlier that I understand the Chris Paul move. I really do. I get it. I went into whole. It's the same situation that he was with the Thunder. You know, a young player, a young star, a young guard, even in the SGA, mentored under by Chris Paul. Fuck it, teach him while you're here. Hopefully, he can become something. And if you want to retire after that year, because again, when Chris Paul went from Houston to OKC, that motherfucker was still very old. Um, and a lot of people thought, oh yeah, he's just gonna retire after this year. Like there's no point until obviously what happened, and they made the playoffs. Um, However, with this sense, Paul is coming off of again more years of aging. He's a lot more injuries. His body is a lot more taxed. He has a lot more mileage, even more mileage on his body. Um, Going into this Spurs situation, they have a young guard in the Stephon Castle, like I mentioned. Even though I personally think they should have drafted Rob Dillinger. Um, he has a young star, superstar, if you want to go that far, in the Wemby. And somebody just give Wemby the ball. Now, now, do I think that Chris Paul is enough to turn this team around and possibly get this team into the play? No, I don't. They won, I believe, 22 games last year, the Spurs. And yeah, the Spurs last year won 22 games. Wemby was still a phenomenal team, but there was glaring issues on this team. One, there's a lot of glaring issues on this team, not just playmaking, but an issue that they addressed as much as possible was playmaking. With you know having Chris Paul, one of the best passers in NBA history, yada yada yada. Now, with that being said, I simply just didn't like the move as much as other people. I saw some people was giving this a grade A plus. Some people was like, "Yay, Wemby has someone finally to pass the ball." Yada 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 yada. Without even mentioning stuff on Castle, a lot of people just went straight to the Wemby shit. It was like, "Oh, Chris Paul is going to throw lobs to Wemby." I don't think that's going to translate to wins. They'll probably go from like 22 to 26, 23 games, like around that many wins. And you get another year of Wemby development. Yes, you get Stephon Castle under one of the greatest pointers of all time and picking his brain. Yes, I understand that. But, but the only real issue I have with this is just for the simple fact that one, Chris Paul is very, I mean, very injury prone to the point where he was barely on the court last season for the Golden State Warriors. Barely on the court at all. So that's why I'm like, there's only so much he can really teach, and only so much that he can impact on the game. And there's only so much that he can teach, and it's only so much that he can impact for this Spurs team. And again, I'm not expecting Chris Paul. I'm not expecting Chris Paul to come into this year and try and turn this team around. Excuse me, turn this team around and play phenomenal, make them a playing team and things of that nature. Because even if we look at the OKC thing, OKC was relatively one of Chris Paul's more healthier years since his Clipper days. Since his Clipper days, that was probably the healthiest Chris Paul has been since 2012. Not even 2012, 2015, 2016, when he damn near played every single game. And then if you keep looking after Phoenix, after Phoenix, after Phoenix, and even Golden State, his production has went down, his impact has went down. While yes, these teams have been better, the Chris Paul effect is still a thing. I'm not gonna say that it's not a thing. I just personally think, while yes, I understand the move. Yes, I get the move. Yes, I think the move is good and I think it will benefit the team for the better. That does not mean I have to necessarily like the move or even love the move. It's not one of my favorite moves of the offseason. It would probably be somewhere in the middle. And I'm really just putting this team here just for the simple fact that I don't like the move that much. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I understand it. And just for the simple fact that I don't know how much I don't really think Chris Paul will be able to impact the game or impact this team as much on the court. Now, off the court, could be a totally different situation. But when it comes to on the court, I don't know. We don't know how much Chris Paul actually be on that motherfucker. And for the simple fact of the only reason to get Chris Paul is just to say, fuck it, give Wemby the ball, which is a great thing. I'm really hoping we see some type of improvement and some type of development, some type of something down the line. And again, this is again a Mickey ass kind of loser thing, and I understand that the Hawks could have easily been in this situation. The Hawks could have 1,000% been in this situation instead of the Spurs. And I get that. I get that. It's more of a just I'm just not the biggest fan of the move. Same thing with the Hawks. I don't like the move of them giving away DeJounte Murray for literally nothing. And also for the simple fact of now Trae Young is there by himself with the number one overall pick. I believe his name was Zacchaeus or something, or Zacchaeus or Zach something. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of his name. But yeah, I thought the Hawks should have just said, fuck it, we're gonna blow everything up. If we're gonna move off DeJounte, who throughout the season was linked to leaving that team, whether it been the Lakers, whether it been whatever the fuck, Clippers, whatever. I think they should also move off. I think they should. I think they should have been. I think teams are more teams. I'm too scared to just blow it up, man. Fuck it, blow shit up, blow it up, blow it up. It didn't work out how we wanted it to. Get rid of everybody. Get rid of them all. Now, could Trae Young turn his team around? Sure. Again, could Chris Paul turn his team around? Sure. I'm not one to not admit when I'm wrong. Chris Paul can have this team playing phenomenal. Greg Popovich could be motivated again to coach and all this other shit. Hell, Chris Paul could be next in line to coach Spurs. I don't know. I will be more than willing to admit when I'm wrong. This team could be fine and for the future could look back and go back to that Chris Paul year and be like, this is the year that we really stepped up and blah, 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 blah. I will gladly admit I was wrong. I just wasn't the biggest fan of the move. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys felt about all the winners and the losers. Even if it was a team that I didn't mention in this video, let me know who you guys' favorite winner and loser is of the off season so far. Let me know if you think these players could really turn the tide for certain players. Shit, if the Warriors get, I'm gonna just try to name DeMar DeRozan, they could go from a loser to a winner. If the Lakers get Tyus Jones, they can go from a loser to a winner. Let me know you guys' opinions and let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Again, thank y'all for coming back always whenever I upload. I really do appreciate all the nice, kind things that you all always say to me. Let me stop. But I really do appreciate all the love and support that I do get in these videos whenever I do post. And certainly because I do need to be better in terms of, posting and shit like that. But yeah, I really do appreciate all the love and support that y'all be showing me. Like, comment, subscribe, all those phenomenal things. And I couldn't think of anything else to say. I was sure to be funny, but I love you guys. Thank y'all for watching it, and bye.